The escalation. As we saw with the Kaseya VSA attack, cartels like Revil proved they could drop a digital bomb from 30,000 feet. A single malicious payload generated millions of encrypted files across 1,500 separate businesses in a matter of seconds. That supply chain attack proved ransomware gangs were escalating their tactics. Offline backups offered an illusion of safety, but that safety shattered when the management software itself was weaponized. They were no longer satisfied with wealthy corporations. They were moving rapidly toward holding entire sovereign nations hostage. The Republic of Costa Rica. April 2022, a Russian-linked ransomware cartel known as Conti set their sights on the Costa Rican Ministry of Finance. The attackers didn't just encrypt government files, they stole them first. 1 terabyte of highly classified data was siphoned away, exposing tax returns, citizen records, and international trade documents. Conti demanded $10 million. The Costa Rican president outright refused to pay. So Conti escalated. The cartel ruthlessly hit the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Science, the National Meteorological Institute, the healthcare system, and the Social Security Fund. 30,000 medical appointments were canceled in a single week. Doctors resorted to writing life-saving prescriptions on scrap paper. Teachers went entirely unpaid. International trade at the ports ground to a complete halt because customs officials physically couldn't process, import, or export taxes. The government bled $30 million a day in lost commercial revenue. The attack mirrored a bank heist where the robbers lock the vault, steal the security cameras, and mail the financial records to the press. It was double extortion, and it worked with terrifying efficiency. On May 8, 2022, Costa Rica officially declared a national state of emergency. This marked the first time in human history a sovereign nation declared a state of emergency, strictly due to a cyber attack. Conti then increased the ransom to $20 million. Posting a public message on their dark web leak site, the cartel openly encouraged the citizens of Costa Rica to protest. The hackers told the public to overthrow their own government, threatening to delete the decryption keys permanently if they didn't. This was no longer just digital extortion. It was cyber-terrorism aimed at destabilizing a functioning democracy. The United States government stepped in, offering a $10 million bounty for information on Conti leadership. Under intense international pressure, the cartel fractured and eventually rebranded. Meanwhile, Costa Rica spent months agonizingly rebuilding its infrastructure from scratch. Citizens couldn't secure passports, businesses couldn't file taxes. A physical economy was entirely paralyzed by invisible code. Ransomware cartels were no longer satisfied with wealthy corporations. They targeted critical infrastructure, knowing the political pressure to pay would be catastrophic. And while a paralyzed government was bad, a paralyzed American medical system was about to prove even worse. Change Healthcare. February 21st, 2024. A ransomware group called ALPHV, also known as Black Cat, successfully breached Change Healthcare. Change Healthcare was largely unknown to the public, but it quietly processed 1 in 3 American medical records. Handling 15 billion healthcare transactions a year, they were the invisible plumbing connecting hospitals, pharmacies, and insurance companies across the country. Black Cat shut that plumbing off. The real-world results were instantaneous and terrifying. Patients walked into local pharmacies to pick up life-saving insulin. When pharmacists ran their insurance cards, the systems simply timed out. Without insurance verification, patients were forced to either pay full price out of pocket or go home without their medicine. Cancer clinics lost their entire cash flow overnight. Small medical practices maxed out their owners' personal credit cards just to make payroll and keep the lights on. The American Hospital Association called it the most significant cyber attack on the U.S. healthcare system in history. It was like cutting the power grid to every national bank, but instead of freezing money, it froze access to chemotherapy. Black Cat didn't need a highly sophisticated zero-day exploit to pull this off. They used stolen credentials. The attackers logged into a remote access system that completely lacked multi-factor authentication. A single compromised password brought down a massive chunk of the American medical system. United Health Group, the parent company of Change Healthcare, allegedly paid Black Cat a $22 million Bitcoin ransom. It was one of the largest payouts ever recorded in cybersecurity history. Then, the cartel turned on its own hackers. The hackers who actually executed the breach were affiliates, acting as subcontractors for the Black Cat cartel. The cartel administrators took the $22 million. They abruptly shut down their own servers. They stole the money straight from their own operators. They pulled an elaborate exit scam. The unpaid affiliates were furious. Still holding the stolen healthcare data, they turned around and demanded a second massive ransom directly from United Health Group. This was triple extortion. A victim paid the cartel stole the money, and the foot soldiers extorted the victim all over again. The private medical data of potentially a third of all Americans was hopelessly compromised. Paying a ransom guaranteed absolutely nothing when dealing with organized crime syndicates. These syndicates quickly realized that the easiest way into a highly secure network wasn't always hacking the machines. Sometimes it was hacking the humans. MGM Resorts International, September 2023. MGM Resorts properties across Las Vegas descended into sudden total chaos. The Bellagio, the Aria, the Cosmopolitan, slot machines froze mid-spin. ATMs stopped dispensing cash entirely. Digital room keys completely failed. Thousands of furious guests were locked out of their rooms. Casino staff resorted to pen and paper to manually check in arrivals. Hours-long lines wound aimlessly through the lobbies. This wasn't a sophisticated software exploit. There was no zero-day vulnerability and no brute force attack on a heavily fortified firewall. The attackers used a phone. A group of young hackers known as Scattered Spider orchestrated the entire collapse. The group spoke fluent native English. They were incredibly skilled at social engineering. LinkedIn provided their initial target. The hackers identified a specific MGM employee, then called the IT help desk impersonating them. The attackers claimed they lost their phone. They urgently requested an authentication reset. The hackers essentially walked up to the digital bank vault wearing a stolen name tag and asked for the master keys. The help desk believed the story. They reset the multi-factor authentication credentials without a second thought. Scattered Spider gained full administrative access to MGM's massive internal network in less than 10 minutes. The hackers deployed an ALPHV ransomware payload, locked down the ESXi servers, and encrypted over 100 virtual machines. MGM finally detected the catastrophic intrusion. They intentionally shut down their internal systems. It was the only way to stop the spread. However, the hackers were already deeply embedded inside the central identity management servers. Knowing they had the upper hand, the attackers actually called the help desk again just to taunt MGM executives. MGM explicitly refused to pay the ransom. That hardline decision cost the company an estimated $100 million in lost revenue and recovery efforts to rebuild their shattered digital infrastructure. Meanwhile, Caesars Entertainment had been hit by the exact same hacking group just weeks prior. Caesars quietly paid a $15 million ransom to keep their operations running smoothly. Two different casinos, two vastly different corporate strategies, the exact same threat vector. Scattered Spider proved a terrifying point. Multi-million-dollar cybersecurity defenses meant absolutely nothing. A single bored IT help desk worker was tricked into resetting a password over the phone. Looking back at that chaotic casino floor in Vegas revealed the true stakes of modern hacking. The blank screens, the locked doors, the dead slot machines. That was the physical reality of a digital threat. The world was no longer dealing with lone hackers in dark basements writing viruses for fun. The reality shifted to sophisticated billion-dollar corporate syndicates. These groups had human resources departments, affiliate programs, and professional negotiating teams. They didn't just want data anymore. They weaponized daily operations, creating so much real-world pain that victims felt they had no choice but to pay. Organizations relying on digital systems remain permanent targets. Stolen admin credentials and clever social engineering consistently bypass billion-dollar defenses. The cartels are out there right now, actively hunting for their next massive payout. The origins of this new era of cyber warfare are detailed in Part 1.